there's going to be ups and downs in this game. You're never going to be perfect. We strive for perfection, but we're all human. And so, the main thing whenever a guy makes a mistake or, anything happens out there that we don't want to happen, it's about, showing that we have each other's back. And so whenever you can go up to a guy and pat him on the back or, give him a word of encouragement, that's what we're here for. And they do it for me as well. So it's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way street. And, I just want to continue to breathe life into my guys because we got some really, really good players and they work extremely hard. And so when they mess up, it's okay, move on to the next play and keep going.
Well, you just heard from Raiders quarterback Gino Smith immediately following the Raiders' joint practice workout today on Thursday against the San Francisco 49ers here at the Raiders practice facility in Henderson. We'll get to those comments from Gino Smith and kind of put them in perspective and put some context in there about exactly what he was talking about and referring to. It was an active day here, no doubt, a physical day, no doubt. There were some ups and some downs. We all were going to be here to talk about it. And some interesting comments, by the way, from one George Kittle on Maxx Crosby and maybe how the Raiders are using Maxx Crosby, or some observations that George Kittle about how at least he was Max was being used today. We'll get all into that in just 1 second. Before we do, just want to welcome everybody to Vegas Nation First and 10, your go-to for Raider news and analysis and commentary. Today in particular, a great day. If you're a football fan and just trying to gauge where both teams are, have a lot of thoughts on that. Want to say thank you before we get started to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. They are our proud sponsors, and we truly appreciate that. Well, Adam Hill, we just heard from Gino Smith, and what that was all about basically was Tre Tucker, the Raiders' third-year wide receiver, who I think we both agree has been having a really good training camp, right? It feels like he's ready to take a big step forward. But he started off really poorly today. There were multiple drop passes, including one on what would have been a third down completion for an easy first down, goes through his hands. If that's a real game, the punt team comes on the field rather than moving the chains, and the Raiders, keep maintaining the ball. With each passing drop pass, Tre Tucker was getting more angry with himself, and we know Tre, he kind of wears it on his sleeve. He's a very prideful kid, and the day just wasn't going his way. Well, right after that, I was watching Gino Smith, and he went running over to the sidelines to catch up with Tre Tucker and shared some encouraging words with him. You could tell that was kind of what was going on. And that led to maybe just a few minutes later, maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, when the first team offense was back on the field, in a red zone period, Gino Smith finds Tre Tucker in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. It was actually a pretty good catch by Tre Tucker, and then capped it all off just a few minutes after that. It was a long drive situation period. I almost think it was unscripted, but I don't know that for sure. But it started at the Raiders' 20-yard line. They marched down the field. They ended up completing Gino Smith and Tre Tucker a 40-yard touchdown pass that Tre actually had to dive for a little bit to get it. It was a really good catch. I say all that to say this, and I asked Gino about this, was, he didn't let the moment pass and let his teammate kind of wallow in the mire there for very long. He went over there, picked him up, and I don't know this for sure, but it kind of led to what ultimately happened. And a bad day turned out to be a pretty good, at least a strong finish for Tre Tucker. And I think that's the leadership that a Gino Smith brings to this football team.
Yeah, for sure. And you saw that happen. You said it's encouraging words. We assume that. We don't think he's got his arm around him like, catch the darn ball.
No,
I don't think
it wasn't one of those.
That. He might be. You never know. But I think it was more the encouraging. And you saw that the tide kind of changed a little bit for Tre, and he went and scored. As he said, 2 touchdowns late in the practice, and started to play really well as he has throughout much of the camp. Mm-hmm. So we saw a typical Tre Tucker performance to close out this practice, which the practice in general here with the 49ers out on the field, obviously very competitive back and forth. It was
Extremely.
1 versus 1s, 2 versus 2s, using both fields, kind of walking back and forth between them. And I thought the thing that stood out most to me was that there just wasn't much momentum built. It was like offense makes a play, defense makes 2 or 3 in a row. Offense makes a play, defense makes 2 or 3 in a row. So neither side really dominated. You didn't really see either offense get going necessarily. It was more like they made a play. Now the defense comes back and
Right.
makes a couple stops. So.
Which I guess if you're looking at that from a, I don't know, whatever lens you're looking at it through, the fact that the Raiders, I wouldn't say they were going toe-to-toe with the 49ers, but they were matching what the 49ers were doing. I don't know that we would have seen, especially offensively, I don't know that we would have seen that kind of matching of the 49ers defense responding the way Gino Smith and the Raiders offense did today.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I think what you want to see is the Raiders dominating this practice because of the situation the 49ers were in.
True.
Obviously, 19 players on the sideline.
Yeah.
There was several tables sprawled out before practice, as we saw, because they didn't have enough space to fit all the 49ers injured players. And all the talk after I was, obviously with the 49ers, you were with the Raiders afterwards. And just literally every single question basically was injury. What about this injury? What about this injury? What about this injury? What about this injury?
Yeah.
That's pretty much all it was. So,
Yeah, well, I'll say this, though.
a team that's staying in
54
hot weather.
was out there.
He was.
And their
He was.
cornerback,
Lenore,
Lenore was
Fred
out
Warner
there.
was out there definitely making some noise.
Oh, my gosh. That
pretty
guy
sure-
is a special football
Pretty
player.
sure Raiders rookie Dante Thornton now knows who Fred Warner is. Pretty sure Brock Bowers knows who
I'm not going
Fred
to quite
Warner
say
is.
that Fred gave Dante his welcome to the NFL moment. That might come down the road.
Sure.
But to date, it might have been his welcome to the NFL moment, and it happened on a pass completion to Dante, middle of the field, kind of a short gain. And let's just say that Fred Warner welcomed him with a pretty nice hit.
I think he got him twice because I think early in the practice he got him, and we saw Dante Thornton every time he came to the sideline after that, right to a knee, kind of stretching
Yes.
out, holding his hip, and then it sounds like there might have been some concern that he was hitting the head later. We don't know that
I think
there's.
that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, we don't know that there's a head injury or anything. They just were very cautious.
took him off
and
the field.
He said, "Hey, you're done.
Yeah.
Let's take you off the field for the rest of this one. No more
Well-
going head to head with 54."
What was humorous, whatever you want to call it. We've seen this before, especially with young players. He bounced up to find out who just hit
Yeah.
me. Like with a kind of like maybe some bad intentions, and he looked over and it saw it was 54. And he's like, "Yep, okay," and just started kind of moving
you,
away,
sir. Thank you,
which
sir. Appreciate it.
was the smart thing to do
Yeah.
because honestly, it's fun to watch a guy like Warner play. You know, we don't get the luxury of that. We see Max Crosby day in and day out, and he's kind of the equivalent as a defensive lineman to Fred Warner. But my goodness, that dude makes his presence felt. He's all over the field. He blitzes, he covers, he hits, he runs. There was a run fit. I don't know if you saw that, where a nice little hole opened up for a Raiders running back. I want to say it was Zamir White, and it looked like okay, this might go for it. And then all of a sudden, bang! 54 is in there, closes it, fits it, and that was the end of that play. So fun to watch.
You just did to our camera what Fred Warner did to Dante Thornton.
Sorry about that, camera.
Shook that thing around. And I think Brock Bowers has some of the strongest hands you're ever going to see. Got thrown a pass over the middle. Fred Warner just ripped it out of his hands. I mean, that's something you just don't see very often. And Fred Warner also celebrated that play. Which,
he did.
I don't know that it would. I didn't think that would necessarily go over well, but didn't see a whole lot of fights. I would say there was no fights. There was definitely skirmishes
and pushing around.
Yeah, there was some extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
But it was very clear. And Kyle Shanahan had said this. He said, "Look," he told his team, "Let them do what they're going to do. If they want to get under your skin, let them get under your skin. We've got 19 guys on the sideline. Nobody's getting hurt fighting, and nobody's getting thrown out of practice." And I think they were concerned about the depth that they had. Their guys getting worn down in the heat. Didn't want them to take any additional reps than they were already taking. So I think that the very clear message was if the Raiders wanted to get in their head and start something, let it happen.
Yeah, and I think Pete Carroll's memo to his team was along the same lines. And you just trust me when I say Pete Carroll does not like joint practices. All right,
Yeah.
He was almost, I would say, talked into this. And that's why it was only one, not two. I think the last time he did it was many, many, many years ago. In fact, he talked about it being when he was with the New York Jets, and he was naming some dudes. I'm like, holy cow, that was a long time ago. So he traditionally does not do this. This was actually supposed to be up in the Bay Area. That was the original plan. The Raiders were going to practice or have training camp up in Napa Valley. That kind of fell through. One of the reasons why was because of a scheduling conflict with the 49ers. The Raiders wanted to play a game up there, their first preseason game up there. Didn't, or maybe it was the second. But anyway, it didn't work out, and they did it down here. I thought it was a pretty positive day all around. There were definitely some good moments and some bad moments. That is a good football team. But as Adam said, probably a little bit disappointing if you're the Raiders that you didn't dominate more.
Especially later in practice.
Yeah, when they were, and that kind of is where they scored those 2 touchdowns later on in practice. So maybe there was some wearing down because it really was a hot day. It was a good day, I thought, for Brock Bowers. Had a good day. Tre Tucker had the up and down day. I thought the offensive line played reasonably well. Gino talked about that, about feeling comfortable back there and having enough time back there. Ashton Genty broke off a long, what would have been a touchdown run. Now, for a little bit of context on that play, it was a little bit of a hard count. It was either a hard count or the 49ers defensive tackle just blew it. He jumps off sides a little bit, takes himself out of position, and they snap the ball as he's out of position. And that created the seam that Ashton took advantage of. I thought he looked pretty good today on blitz pickup as well. A decent day for the Raiders rookie running back. You took a look more at the defense. What were your impressions over on that side of the football field?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was similar, and I was kind of positioned in a place where I could try to watch both, but I thought it was similar in terms of neither establishing a firm upper hand. I thought it was you'd see the offense make a play and then defense 3 or 4 in a row. I think that was kind of how it went on both sides of things. So overall, I would think the defense won, if you want to say who won or lost, but give up some big plays as well. So that that becomes something that you can teach off of and learn from. And I know Pete Carroll said he wanted to see the film first. Did he get burned quite badly by a wheel route by Kyle Juszczyk, who got a touchdown pretty deep, and I think that was just a miscommunication. Nobody picked him up, and he just got deep. And so I
felt
think
like Stokes could have come up with the interception, but I think he picked up the ball a little bit too late. It wasn't his guy to begin with. So he was trying to come over there and help, but he just got, it was a little bit too late. But yeah, it was somebody. I think it was. Well, I thought it was Chin. It might have been Chin's responsibility, but I don't know that for sure. I got to look at the film as well.
Saw some Zach Carter first team. Definitely a lot of Kyu Blu Kelly.
First team
reps.
We should. I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
Kyu Blu Kelly just continues to make noise here. At training camp, I got a chance to talk to Pete Carroll about that, and actually, let's hear from Pete Carroll about Kyu Blu Kelly.
He's just been really active. Seems like he's really settling in, and his aggressive style of play has really shown up. So I'm fired up for him. If you notice, I don't know if it happened today, but yesterday he got work with the ones, and just to see how he fits in and all of that. It's just a great example of a guy competing his butt off and trying to make a statement.
So if you haven't had a chance to get the app yet, again, we still have the $50 no worry wager available. What a great time to get in the summer. Get yourself familiar with the app. The auto racing, horse racing, the golf,
women's softball,
the MMA. Whatever you're interested in, check out the STN Sports app.
That's Pete Carroll, Raiders coach, talking about Kyu Blu Kelly, who took the majority of the first team reps again today. I thought that's somewhat noticeable, given the important nature of this joint practice, and it meant that Darian Porter filled in for him occasionally, but was more on the second team, and hearing from Pete. And talking about, hey, this was the message all along. Like, if you compete and you show something, you're going to be rewarded for that. It doesn't matter where you came from. Doesn't matter what your draft status was. Doesn't matter if that you were drafted by this regime, brought in by this regime, or a carryover from a previous regime. You're going to get the opportunity, and if you make the most of it, you'll be rewarded for it. I think that's important, Adam, because we know that there's players will tell you this. I was told a whole bunch of things, but it was all words and not action. If you're Kyu Blu Kelly and you're doing what you're doing and you're being rewarded as you are, I think that sends a pretty positive and strong message throughout the locker room that this could happen to you if you're putting out there what the coaches need to see.
Yeah, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it all over with guys like Jordan Meredith, who did everything he's supposed to do in the offseason to get to where he is and getting his opportunity, and different guys who have gotten opportunities to rise. Alex Bachman has had a chance to show what he's going to do. So, guys that it doesn't matter where your draft status is or what your name is or anything like that. It matters what you're doing on the field, what you're putting effort you're putting into the meeting rooms. All those sorts of things matter in terms of where you go. Now, we will see. I mean, it's one thing to get reps now. It's another thing to get reps with the first team in the season. It's one thing now to look like you're going to make the team. It's another to see if you actually do. And if you get to a point where guys have clearly outplayed other guys, but draft picks of this regime make the team over them, then you're like, well, is the draft status really not matter? Like that's when we'll really find out.
Yeah, and I think that it's an interesting question because the draft is a little bit of a different kind of a whole animal because I've talked to plenty of general managers the day, a month after the draft, a week after the draft, the day of the draft, after it concludes. And the message is, hey, if we come out with a swing tackle and a couple of starters and some players that can be reserve players down the line, this was a good draft. Like they have it, and they have a different perspective sometimes than fans and maybe even in the media in terms of this is an investment for hopefully 10 years, but sometimes just the next 5 years or so, and you're trying to. Develop those players, and that it might not you might not see what the vision might not come to fruition in the first training camp or the first season, and you have to be aware of that. So, who makes the team sometimes is predicated on, all right, the player's not where we think he's going to be right now, but we believe he's going to get there, and therefore his roster spot. We feel like he deserves a roster spot just for that purpose alone.
Right. That's antithetical to the message. I mean, it's absolutely that is how football has been handled every single season with every single team ever, of course.
Like Kobe Bryant wasn't the best Laker when he was 18 years old, right?
But when you start sending the message of, hey, these things don't matter, all that matters is what you're doing here, like it's not always true. It's not, teams say that, not always true, I guess is the point. And they are giving these guys opportunities now. Let's see what it looks like actually when it comes to who has to be cut, all those kind of decisions have to be made. That's when the proof's in the pudding of, I hate that I'm using that expression, but that's when the proof's in the pudding of, hey, is this real?
Is it peaches and cream though?
That was yours. That was definitely not mine. But yeah, that's the true test. Like when we finally see a regime in the NFL which we've never, ever seen before happen, that they're like, you know what? This guy that was an undrafted free agent from the previous regime is better than this guy I drafted, and we're keeping him instead. It just never happens.
Well,
maybe it'll happen eventually.
Exactly. But, you're also not going to, Kurt Warner, you're better than Eli Manning. Eli Manning, we're cutting you the first pick in the – you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be some, it doesn't necessarily make somebody a liar or anything like that. It's just, I think it's just part of the whole deal. Now, if somebody like, Tommy Mellott is playing over a certain player to start the season, then you're like, okay, that's a bunch of BS.
Tre Tucker.
Right, exactly. That's not going to happen. Because at the same time, you still want to win some games. But he might make the roster over somebody, as we've been talking about. That's probably just a better player than he is right now. But, we'll see how that all plays out. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back.
With some interesting comments.
Yeah, to say the least.
I don't exactly know how to interpret them. I kind of do, but we'll let you listen to them, see what you think, and continue that conversation on the other side.
This one's for the Vegas locals and Vegas locals only. STN Sports is the sports betting experience built for you. From the app to the 19 convenient locations across the valley to sign up, bet, and watch your favorite games. And with a massive betting menu and daily odds boost, there are tons of ways to get in the action. Sign up today.
Our first play at team run was awesome. I don't know what they're, I'm not the defense coordinator for the Raiders, but Max Crosby in a 4-point stance and a 6 technique. That takes a lot of pressure off of me and McKivitz, where I can just run through his outside shoulder. McKivitz can eat it and get up to the second level. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Well, there you have it. George Kittle talking about Maxx Crosby, the Raiders' dynamic defensive end, and by the sound of it, George Kittle is kind of questioning how Maxx Crosby was used, at least today, and
really
maybe
just on a play.
Exactly.
And we've seen it a couple times from Maxx Crosby lined up in the 4-point stance in 6 technique, which basically is heads up over the tight end.
usually with somebody right off of his hip, to the right of him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Jamal Adams. Maybe it's I don't know. I didn't see the
when they bring like a linebacker down to the box or even like
Jermaine
a nickel.
Pratt.
Yeah.
They'll have a linebacker covering him on that side.
And essentially, Kittle was saying that they lined up that way. It just makes it very, very easy on the offense. He said, "I'll take that all day."
Why?
Why makes it too easy on the offense? He said it enabled just him to just kick out, make one quick block, let the tackle who was supposed to be a double team on Crosby then release into the second level. And it really doesn't require double teaming Max just because of alignment. It lets alignment double team him and take him out of a play instead of an actual double team from the offensive line.
Yeah.
Is essentially what Kittle was saying there.
Yeah.
Now, it was what he said is, hey, we got a big play out of that because the way that it was aligned, and thank you. Essentially, is what he's saying. And then later on, so this is how you knew that he meant to say something or he wanted to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, he was asked just about his general impressions of the Raiders, and he said he likes the vibe, likes what they got going on. As long as they let Max Crosby be Max Crosby, they'll be fine.
Right.
So, clearly he was saying they're not using him correctly.
Right.
Now, again, for the most part, Max Crosby is not lined up that much differently than he has been in the past.
No, not
occasionally, and there was times last year that they had him lined up like this, but really, it's a somewhat new thing that they're doing a couple times, but it's not something that has very heavily been utilized. So
right.
It was very interesting that was what he decided to point out. I don't know. It was clearly something he wanted to say. I think that's.
And why do you think
obvious.
that might be, Adam?
I mean, I have guesses.
Okay.
Of why?
Do we want to get into what your guesses are?
I would guess that there are. He wouldn't say something like that if it wasn't being said by somebody else.
Like a little conversation that we just had.
Sure. If it's
okay,
I would think that would be approved. That would be an approved statement that he would make.
Right.
Is what I'm saying here.
Well, hey, we'll ironically, Max did talk today.
Sure.
But they were talking either very simultaneous or it was just one of those things where you couldn't get any kind of a reaction out of it.
Opposite sides of the building.
They were totally opposite sides of the building. The 49ers had their side. The Raiders were where they typically have been doing their media. So, I don't know, just something to keep an eye on. And I'm sure, we'll do our jobs and try to get figured out if there's and anything in terms of what the Raiders are doing that might be, I don't know, holding Max back or misusing him, whatever. So we'll find out.
Let Max Crosby be Max.
Let Max be Max, for crying out loud. And absolutely, that's what you want to do, right? He is Max Crosby. All right, so we will not be here tomorrow. The Raiders have a day off. That's the day before they play the San Francisco 49ers at Allegiant Stadium. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff. It sounded like, talking to Gino, that the way he was carry this over to Saturday and keep the momentum going. It almost feels like the starters are going to get, I don't know about substantial time, but time, on Saturday.
Seemed to be what Pete Carroll indicated earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Today, I know he laughed when he said everyone is live.
Yeah.
Because of the reaction when he said that same statement last week, he said everyone's live again.
That was in their transcript. It was alive, like ALIVE.
Yeah, no,
it's alive.
Yeah.
It should be A and then live. Like everybody's.
No, there wasn't even an A. It was
that's
just
what. Yeah,
everyone's
it should
live.
be everyone's live. Like they're up. They're ready to go. Not alive. We all know everyone's alive. That's so.
Thank goodness.
I know exactly. It's maybe there was an intern that was typing that and just misheard it.
Could also. I mean, I think it's AI is the.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, so your thoughts going into Saturday's game, and maybe what you feel like, Pete, if you're Pete Carroll or if you're a Raider fan, what you kind of want to see on Saturday.
I mean, I think same things we saw that we said, same things we said last week. We want to see, right? I mean, I think first and foremost, above all else, you've got to establish the running game with the first team offense. You have to. And I know that they don't want to run their plays. They don't want to call their plays. That's what Pete Carroll talked about. We're keeping it very, very basic. It's essentially you want to be able to tell the 49ers, we're going to open up, we're going to run the ball.
We're going to out-tough you.
Right. Try to stop it.
Yeah.
And that essentially is what you kind of need to do because, you're going to be able to scheme some runs open. You're going to be able to scheme some big plays out of the run game with Ashton Jeanty. There's no question about it. But Can you, when the other team knows what you're going to do,
bare knuckles,
and we're just going to call
right.
I don't know, man. I'm going to really go back. And the old Tecmo Super Bowl, one of the greatest games ever made on any gaming system. And you had 8 plays. There's 4 runs, 4 passes. Right. And you could change up those plays, whatever. But there was always one play that essentially was just like just run it off tackle.
Yeah.
And it was almost every play had it in the play. Every team had it in the playbook. You're just going to run it. Can you stop it? And if you had Bo Jackson, obviously you're just going to score a touchdown every time. But we used to call it, me and my brothers would call it bread and butter. It was the bread and butter play. Every team had it. Just run the ball.
My sophomore year in high school, Ventura High School, we went 9-0-1 that year. First 6 games of the season, we scored on the same exact play. It was a bootleg to our quarterback, Skipper Scott, who was tremendous. And it was by the time the third time we did it, you had to figure that their coaches knew what we were gonna do, but they still couldn't stop it. But it's what Adam is saying. We're not scheming anything up here. It's completely vanilla. But can we get the push? Yeah. Can we win the battle? Can we win the battle?
Hat on hat, create a hole, create some space, get some yards. That's what you want to do. Because they did that in the first game and they couldn't. They got the 3 carries, -1 yard for Ashton Jetty.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll said we're not doing our stuff. We're not going to call our best plays. Just get the job done.
Yes.
And I think that's what you want to see on the first team offense. And same thing for first team defense. It was a bend but not break day. I mean, they give a lot of yards.
There was a lot of bending.
Got an interception and didn't let him in the end zone the first drive. But I think you'll see a little bit more time out of the starters. We'll see what the 49ers do. Like, they don't want to play their starters because they don't want injuries, but they don't really have backups now.
Right, exactly.
So, how are they going to play this? But I think especially when it's ones-on-ones or at least ones versus some ones on the other side, establish something and establish your identity. I think that's what you want to do.
Well, I'll echo that and add this. The efficiency, playing clean football. You can't have the lining up incorrectly, jumping off sides incorrectly. The turnovers, Aiden O'Connell with the two interceptions. The poor angles on tackles. Again, it has nothing to do with scheme or anything like that. It's just basic football 101. Are you doing what you need to be doing in that regard? So I think operationally and from an execution standpoint, whatever level of execution or scheme they're going to put out there, are you executing it? Are you doing it on a clean level? Because they didn't for large chunks of that game on Thursday. They need to see it, I'm sure, from themselves on Saturday that there's an improvement in that area.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. That was a key thing that was very obvious in that game. So clean up those things. And Pete Carroll said the things that they did well today, try to do those well on Saturday. I think the things they did poorly week 1, try to do those better.
Once he watches the film.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know what they were doing, what they did good or bad.
He said whatever we did do good.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to be facetious. He's like, look, I was going from one, and I was watching him. Yeah. It was like over here, and it's hard to, it's like a big smorgasbord of football. I know you love that word. A buffet. A buffet of football where you're just kind of looking around going, where do I go? Where do I look? What do I do? Because there's just so much going on. So it's hard to keep track of it. I wish I had the coach's tape to look over. That would be kind of fun. But that's what he's doing.
NFL Plus, make that happen.
Yeah, that's what he's doing literally right now as we speak up there in the offices, trying to figure out what was good, what was bad, what do you need to build on, what do you need to improve, all those good things that coaches do.
What exactly George Kittle was talking about.
Right, exactly. What? So anyway, I'm sure he's heard of that by now. He's either having a pretty good chuckle or not. Maybe he's a little upset. That'll do it for today. I want to say thank you to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. I want to say thank you to our listeners and our readers. However you digest and absorb the information that we're putting out over at VegasNation.com, we truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate the support for Vegas Nation First and 10. The numbers are through the roof. That's a tip of the cap to you guys. Please continue to hit the like button, the subscribe button. We mention this all the time. Vegas Nation Vegas Nation subscription is your one stop for Raider news. And it makes a great gift for all the Raiders fans in your family or your friends circle, whatever the case might be. I want to say thanks to Heidi Fang for doing everything that she does. We'll be back at it Saturday after the game. Look forward to that. Enjoy your Friday and the rest of your Thursday, and we'll check back in with you on Saturday.